So, that's one thing I stay up on.
What, eyebrows?
Eyebrows.
Well, yeah, because I definitely have, I feel like the Eastern European eyebrow.
Yeah. I just thought mine is like a caterpillar if I don't take care of them. You know, the Greek in me is, we're real strong.
You're Greek?
Yeah. No. Yeah. Gianna Antaputu, whatever his name is. What's his name?
Giannis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, I've reached my daily post limit on LinkedIn. Well, I guess this isn't going out on LinkedIn tonight.
There's a daily post limit on LinkedIn?
What are you doing on LinkedIn? How many
You can send it on mine.
posting?
No, I have to have it all linked, but we're already live. So we're back on YouTube though because Carrie was about to. I think,
demanded it.
Yeah, she demanded it.
Why is that?
No. It links, it embeds better, so it's totally me being like, I want to take this content later and put it somewhere. So yeah.
Well, shall we start the countdown?
Yeah.
Since we were so deep into eyebrow. Oh,
we
that's
can keep
right.
talking during the countdown.
We can.
Yeah, you just unmute your mic.
Whoa! Has it been
I
the
saw
whole
last
time?
I saw the last one, and y'all were talking through it.
I was gonna make up lyrics. I wonder if I could do Cardi B up to this.
No.
Oh wait, no, I shouldn't.
No, you can't. Don't be doing that.
I swear that's what you were bouncing to the other day in the car. I was so disappointed when I just
What? There was
nothing.
nothing. There was no music in the car. It was just me driving.
I know, it's just you driving and talking. I was hoping it was going to be like you just going in to get your workout done and just like getting fired up on the way there. And
oh, I was already finished.
yeah, see,
I was already finished.
you just missed out.
I can't be playing that kind of music in the morning. Talking about hey educators. When it's up, it's the stuff.
Welcome in, everybody. It is your Friday Eve. It is your pre-weekend party. I am one of your co-hosts tonight. I am James O'Hagan. I am the Director of Digital and Virtual Learning for the Racine Unified School District and host of the now 3-year-old The Academy of Esports podcast. And directly to my left, they gotta go this way. To my left, your right.
Your digital right.
Yes.
Hello. Hi. Angelique Giannis. I am an English teacher on spring break. And I run our school's esports stuff. And I'm a NASEF Scholastic mentor, too.
And not having to grade right now because the last few weeks you've been MIA because of grading.
Yes. Last week I had gotten my second shot, so I was couching it. But yeah, week before was finals, so now we're going to go back on Monday. New semester, new me. No idea what I'm teaching. In person. Right. Gonna be great.
And directly to her right, we have...
Carrie, the Chuck Muju on Twitter. I'm the communications specialist for Liminal Esports Snowbright Studio, and I am currently heading up the K-12 Esports News website.
And I think we'll let Danielle finish chewing whatever it is. Okay, you ready? All right, go ahead, Danielle.
Perfectly, guys. I timed it perfectly. I'm Danielle Johnson. I'm from Dallas, I'm a middle school teacher in Dallas, Texas, and I'm also the executive director for the Texas Scholastic Esports Foundation.
And directly next to her and down below me is...
Hey everybody, I'm Bradford Harris, and I am the Director of Learning for TechSef, and I'm also the Coordinator of Digital Innovation in Houston, Texas for Alden IC, and I am a NASEF Scholastic Fellow.
All right. Well, does anybody have anything pressing that they want to start tonight? Because I kind of have some things, but I don't want to just jump all in and take this over because this is, remember, we're all none of us are guests. I just want to make sure everybody knows that we are all hosts here. So
I got nothing.
I don't have anything pressing, but weren't we supposed to talk about something that was a to be continued from the last one? Or I don't remember.
I don't think anybody wrote it down.
What was it? How amazing Justice League is?
Oh my god!
I haven't seen that.
Oh, it's so good.
I can't sit through a 4-hour anything. So
yes, you
can.
No, I saw parts of it.
Them Amazons.
So so look, I know eventually all of us here now. Carrie, you've been out of the classroom for a few years. But I think eventually all of us are going to get our big break where somebody comes to us and says, hey, we want to hire you for doing something esportsy, but outside of the classroom. Mm-hmm. And this is something that I always, over the years, you see people who go off and go do the whole consulting thing and get out of the classroom, and they talk like they're in the classroom still, and they've been out of the classroom for 20 years. And, we talk about the edge of celebrity, but, at what point, and not to say that, Carrie, you sold out, because this isn't like a sellout.
I'll make a new shirt, sell out. That'll be great.
But I know that some of us... Education is weird, okay? It's not like business where you could find a different company and just go work for a different company. Even this week, I've had some really strong connections with kids that I know that if I was not doing what I'm doing right now, I would miss. Like, you just, those things that you just, a lot of us don't do this for the money, but the reality is money's important. A lot of us have passions around esports and education, but I guess the phrase or I guess the thing to kind of explore is, how do you, I guess, start to make that transition? Because I think we've all started in teaching, but Carrie, you've made this transition.
I've made the transition. Yeah. So, if you're not familiar, I taught middle school. I did a self-enclosed looping track, so I had my students for a minimum of 3 years. Sometimes I had them longer if I was pushed into lower grades. And I taught a lot of stuff. So I taught science, I taught ELA, I taught the history, I taught all the phys ed, tobacco and drug prevention, sexual health, like all of that was on me. So I wasn't your typical middle school teacher that had a subject. When my program was closed down, I needed to shift. But as a homeowner, it can be hard to move. So like with teaching, I feel like if you live in an area that has minimal districts, you've got limited options as to what position you're going to move into. That doesn't essentially require you pulling up all your roots and moving your family. And with my situation, I couldn't pull up my roots and move my family. So I had to stay here. The district that was more local to me and my community just wasn't really hiring. And I honestly was tired of 45 minutes in the morning worth of a commute and anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half commute in the afternoon. It was just exhausting. And it meant that I didn't get to see my family. So I decided to try something different. Originally, I actually started working on creating a private program up here, but my area just isn't supportive of alternative or open education. So we ended up sort of folding that. I taught, content creation, streaming, and esports here for a little while too under that organization. So for me, it was like I could either commute really far, or I could start looking for things outside. I actually subbed for a year, and subbing, it didn't kill my love for teaching, because I love teaching, and I've always taught in some capacity in any of the jobs that I've had. But it made me hyper aware of a lot of the challenges that were faced within the districts and a lot of the downsides in a lot of the schools. And I got to see patterns, negative patterns that existed from site to site to site to site. And it made me really concerned about whether I would ever actually find a position in one of these schools that I would be happy with, and that wouldn't sort of suck my soul out and kill my joy for education. So when I was offered a part-time job at Liminal, I didn't know it would spin into a full-time. I just knew that here was this job opportunity that merged my love of gaming and sort of social media management with education, because we are a very education and research focused company. I'm not the only educator on the team. There are many of us that have extensive backgrounds in education at various different grade levels. So it made sense, and it was a comfortable environment because I wasn't the only one. So when you're having conversations about educational applications, enough of the other team gets it and understands and realizes, what it's like. And then, when an opportunity moved to go full time, it was great. Like, I couldn't make what I do now teaching here. So, financially that's nice. And then COVID happened, and that was a huge eye opener for how local districts and just districts nationally value and or don't value both the health and safety and the input of their faculty. I know some people are lucky enough to be in the exceptions, those districts that really do care and do a good job of listening and protecting their faculty. But I feel like a lot of the stories that I'm hearing aren't that. And what I've seen here isn't that. So I'm right now, I miss it. I miss teaching. I miss education. And I like the opportunities where I can work with youth, because that's always been where a passion is. But I'm also really enjoying logging off work and being able to be present with my family. I really enjoy, as everybody's posting, a couple days until spring break. I'm like, oh my gosh, I remember those couple of days before spring break. I knew that they were me sitting on a floor surrounded by papers, trying to get all the grades in, before, it just, I like being present.
But
for
what's
my kid.
What is the, again, we've had these conversations too about, kids come to us and say, hey, I got offered $35,000 to go be a pro gamer, or I got offered this to be a pro gamer. For teachers, especially when you look at your life and you just go, oh my gosh, I'm so burned out, I'm so whatever about the job. Angelique, again, you were gone the last 2 weeks because end of semester and COVID and everything. And let's say somebody came to you and said, hey, I'm gonna give you 1.5 times your current salary and take you away from all this, and all you get to do is esports stuff. But I mean, not saying that that's happened, but there's things too, because we look at some of these businesses and they do want to get their claws. I say that lovingly, get their claws into schools and schools.
Hold on, it hasn't happened yet.
Right.
I was going to put the energy out there. So anyway, continue.
But what are some of the things, I guess, you would call either a deal maker or a deal breaker to make the jump?
I think, for me, if somebody came up to me and said, we'll give you 1.5 your salary to move and do esports stuff, for me, it would have to be, I would still need to be involved with students in the classroom in some capacity, I think. Not full time. I wouldn't want to be in a classroom full time. I agree with a lot of what Carrie said. I think, as someone who's been working in a classroom for, I don't know, 9 years now, I am envious, and I say this all the time, I'm envious of people who get to just leave work and be off work.
Yeah.
And you don't get to do that as a teacher as much as you try to, and you say you're going to, I go back to work on Monday, but already this whole week I'm like, oh my God, what am I teaching? Oh my God, what am I doing? Oh my God, tomorrow, which is, my last day of spring break, I know I need to spend that whole day working to figure out what I'm doing on Monday. So but I think for me, I don't ever want to leave a situation where I'm still interacting with students and getting to know them and forming a relationship and getting to be a mentor and, having that kind of connection. So I don't know that I could leave the profession and just work in esports and never work with students. I think, yeah.
Anybody else? I mean, Bradford, what would it take for you to get pulled away from Houston? Well, not Houston, but from where you're at.
Funny you say that, because I was asked that this week.
I did. And this is not a setup. I do not know.
It's not a setup, but I was asked that. Well, it's different for everybody. I think, because I consider myself in transition, because All of us in here are parents. You're not a parent, Angela. Are you a parent? Oh,
No, well, no, not technically, but I do take care of my little sister. So
right.
She's got fur babies.
We all
I
take
have
care.
I
We all
have a
take care of
13-year-old
children.
child. I also take care of. That's who this
Well,
is behind me.
we take care of children, and so, but mine are at the age of where I don't have to check on them like I check on them anymore. It's 17 and 19.
Yep.
And they have expressed that right now they're not going to pursue college right now. They're just going to work. And so and like James, I'm in virtual learning, digital learning, so that opens more doors for me, and I can literally come home and close my laptop and not work, or I can open it up, work on the phone. I can do it. I can be anywhere, but there's still other factors to consider. Like my wife still takes care of her grandmother and things like that, but I didn't have those opportunities like I do now when my kids were younger, because they were younger, and I had to be in the classroom, or I had to be in that position. So it is different for a lot of people. I've actually learned. I know Danielle and I were at the Women Got Game conference this past week, and one thing that they did say was, you should go out and interview at least once a year, and not just to go out and try to get a job, but just to see what kind of chops you have and what kind of things you need to work on, and just to see, what else can they offer. So like Angelique was saying, you know what, I don't know if I truly want to leave the classroom. That's when you negotiate. Hey, on top of my salary, I would like to go into a school and do XYZ. I would like to do this, because what they have on paper is what's on paper. But they said, and I didn't even think about it this way, and I'm 42. That's just a starting point.
Yeah.
So, and it took me a long time to figure out until last weekend that what they said is true. That's just a starting point. So for me, all I'll have to say is I'm in transition, and I'm trying to figure out what that next step for me is. It could be staying where I'm at. It could be moving forward to bigger and brighter things. But I think it all depends on where you're at in that certain amount of time. And I will say too, with this pandemic and COVID, and I just saw Jarrell's on here. I remember Jarrell saying in our little conversations that the way we're doing things now has changed everything, not just in education, but just jobs. So that changes the whole entire dynamic of how we do things. In my opinion, education is still trying to figure that out. I mean, I'm still trying to figure. I mean, teachers really can stay at home. I don't know if I want teachers to stay at home. Well, some teachers actually like it. Some teachers actually like being face to face. Some teachers actually like teaching from 10 to 5 or 7 to 4 or whatever. You have to start thinking about how to provide those opportunities, and that's starting to shake administration and districts up, and they don't know what to do with that, because now you've opened that opportunity, not just because there's a pandemic out there, but now people see that I can accomplish things differently. So I will just say that it's different for people depending on where you're at.
I'm just going to share this really quickly with you all. This is a tweet I put up today. My fear, it says, my fear about K-12 schools coming out of the pandemic summed up in a meme. And it's the that super tanker that's stuck in the Suez Canal. And that's just the way we've always done it. And the little, thing that's trying to dig it out says, cool new disruptive idea backed by data and trend analysis.
It's funny. Like my ex-business partner, she messaged me the other day that they're all receiving stipends to do differentiated seating in their classrooms for when they come back. And it was funny because when I was first starting, I'd fought really hard to have seating options in my classroom other than chairs, and I was categorically shut down because it was like safety issues. At the same time, the district's sending like emails of like the benefits of having all of this stuff. It's like, it's tiring how it all happens. And I think going back to Bradford's, interviewing once a year, we get comfortable. And I think teachers get comfortable because there's a lot of uncertainty that can come with sort of being a teacher, whether it's, not knowing what classroom you're going to be in, not knowing what grade you're going to teach. A lot of districts will keep you on probe instead of making you full time. So you're even like, do I even have a job next year? So there can be this desire to like not rock the boat and just stay where you are because it's safe. So I think, if you get in the habit of going out and actively seeing what else is out there, you might find, better options, even if it's just a different school site, or, looking at different ways that education is getting incorporated into various other industries. There can be some other things that are still going to, I think, allow you to learn. Like, I think the thing that I'm the happiest about with what I do now is there isn't a week that goes by that I'm not learning a new skill. And I feel like we can get into ruts as teachers because you're held to, especially if you stay in the same grade. It's like, here, this is what you have to do. You have to do it on these deadlines. If you're not in a district that can afford to send you to conferences, you become, that sort of machine that doesn't necessarily get the support to grow. And that can suck the love out of anything.
Well, let me real quick. First of all, Jarrell Boddock joins us. Jarrell, hi.
Hello.
Jay.
And Jarrell, I think, has a unique perspective on this because Jarrell has gone from the private sector and then the nonprofit world into education, which I think is a very unique thing. But a couple of things I want to hit on really quickly. Mike Dolly, I know, is in the chat. He, for the last couple of years, was in private business, and he said he loved the corporate culture, but the work was invaluable to him. And I'll say this, if somebody's coming to me offering me a job, it better make me it better have some teeth to it, right? It can't just be, we just want you to be our, esports spokesperson. Oh, right. Well, that's cool.
Great.
Thank you. But they call me Mystery Y. I love this here. It says, curious about what schools might genuinely be exploring different class time options. Ours, I will say this, mine is completely asynchronous. We do have some synchronous times throughout the day that kids meet, but our kids, once they meet in the morning if they have to, and that's completely optional, they are off on their own for the day working on their own. And in fact, even now, we went back face to face partially. Students could work remotely. We've had a number of kids who feel like there are only 2 or 3 kids who are remote in their class, and the rest are back face to face. They're saying they're not getting the attention. They're not able to move along because a lot of these kids have been out the first part of the school year and hadn't really been participating.
Yeah.
And now what they're wanting is they want to work faster because guess what? Now they're having to remediate all these kids who hadn't been in school.
Yeah.
So even now I'm getting kids March 23rd who want to do a second semester, and I'm setting them up to finish their second semester by June 5th.
Yeah.
Like it is, but they're just ready to go. They're like, look, I've been in school all year. I need to be able to just take control of this right now because they're having us start over again, and I can't start everything over again. So
yeah, our local districts didn't do anything different. As soon as they rolled everybody into hybrid looked exactly like classes looked. So if you had a 0 period, it started at dark o'clock in the morning. And they're like currently, now everybody is officially hybrid, but even a week before hybrid started, they went back to that 80 to 90 minute block per class. So it's like our district here isn't even toying with the idea of later start times or variation in class schedules. And I think California, it was like there was a push at one point to have later start times.
It's next year.
And then
oh yeah, it's a law now, isn't it?
Yeah, so by 2020 the 2022 school year, the earliest you can start is 8:30. Which, like, my school right now, when we went to online, our start time was 8:30. So now they're just, I think the plan is to just keep it, because why would we go back to 7:45 for what, a year? Like, But
Yeah.
I think it's interesting. I think, like, for me, I agree. Like, so many of these kids are learning that, like, I can move way faster and still be successful. And why shouldn't I be able to do that?
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind being like a strictly hybrid teacher, not Zoom at the same time as in person, but like right now when we go back next week, I'm teaching on Zoom Monday, Wednesday to everybody, and then Tuesday, Thursday, my kids who want to come back are back in the classroom, but I'm not allowed to teach. It's just strictly like a tutorial, come work on your asynchronous work and get my help and one-on-one, whatever. And I think I really like that because it allows the kids to move faster if they want to. Everybody's going to be working on different things.
Right.
And yeah, and it's like, I don't know, 5 days in the classroom. It's a lot of time.
You know what's funny is the question initially was, what would it take to get you out, right? When do you take that leap? And what we've really gotten into, which I think is really interesting, is this notion that, because Bradford, you really started talking about how education has changed and how we've gotten used to doing these things differently. And you're right. If we're going to retain teachers who have businesses that come to them and say, hey, you like working from home? Hey, do you like doing all these things that you were doing these last
Things
couple of
need
months?
to get fixed.
We need to start, if you want to retain good teachers, you've got to do this. But Jarrell, you came to us from the private sector before, right?
I worked for a statewide nonprofit in California. Mm-hmm.
So what drew you out of that into education? Because was it just the esports component, or what were the things that attracted you to education?
So the nonprofit I work for was primarily focused on K through 8 after school expanded learning implementation. And I started as a teacher there, so always been in education. Loved just this idea of working directly with students. But it was there that I kind of had a taste of just the hustle, the innovation hustle. I was working with the kids there, and they came up with this whole idea around utilizing Minecraft. And this was, at the time, like, that was preposterous, right? And I think through that, at the same time, I was freelancing. I was doing a lot of design work. And I started to kind of look at that model in particular around really just how can I take the skill set that I have and how can I apply that to create this innovative model for this company. And I approached it with that same sort of client design mentality that there's an issue here, there's a problem. They're lacking in STEM education. They're also lacking in the utilization of ed tech like digital portfolios. And it was that idea that I had pitched and proposed to the organization, which then propelled me into a new position, a newly created position. And then it was honestly as beautiful and as amazing as it sounds in retrospect. It was a lot of hustle, it was a lot of hard work, because creating a new position that doesn't exist, there's obviously no support, there's no like issues around that. And so I think that taste of the hustle is what led me to here, because this space, again, is that new innovation space. That how do we find the intersections of areas that, you know, we don't know how to do things. I love being in that. And I think as a practitioner, you know, even going beyond an educator, really just pushing your skills and finding the intersection of your interests and skills is how we grow. I like to think of it as like growing is kind of like a bonsai. You can't really like force any growth, right? You're kind of guiding your growth, and really you're just trimming off all the stuff that you don't like anymore. And that's really what guides you into where you want to be.
Jarrell, are you promoting ideas from Karate Kid 3?
Yes, you can call me Mr. Miyagi. That's my new consulting name.
But it's from the third one. It's from the third one, not the first one.
Yeah.
Clip it. That's our quote of the day.
There you go.
Danielle, do you have any thoughts? I mean, like I said, it has to be something that like tickles your brain, right? Shouldn't it be something like that?
To leave, yeah. And I think more than that, so I was an instructional coach for the last 3 years, and a year ago, I would not have ever guessed that I would be back in the classroom. Because, I mean, how many people do you know that leave the classroom that go back?
Yeah, not many. Yeah.
Right. Like I know of like one person that has gone into district administration and then left to go back in the classroom. And that's like out of the thousands of teachers, you know? And I freaking love it. Like, I have had so much fun this year in the wake of everything, and probably because I have a very office space attitude about it. But I have had so much fun this year, and like teaching grown-ups sucked. Like, I mean,
she's not lying. She's not lying.
And that's the thing, is I've been asked to speak a lot on being an instructional coach, and that was the thing I said, was teaching grown-ups suck. Like, they are the worst students. The ones that harp about doing it are the ones that don't take attendance.
Wrong people in education. I'm sorry. They are something. You right, Danielle. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to sing your thunder.
And it's a lot of it comes from PD. I mean, I'll get into this, the PD part of it in a second. But one of the things that I would always say is, the first few times a 12-year-old tells you like you suck or is like disparaging to you, it kind of hurts. But then after a while, you're like, you're 12.
Yeah.
But when somebody that like used to be your department manager hates one of your PDs, like, it's devastating. And I was lucky enough to like even have it in parallel practice where I had a person to go to with stuff. But like, man, I love kids. They blow your mind. Like, I love their projects. Like, I even like grading this year, guys. And I think it might have a lot to do that I went from like a core subject to an elective.
Yeah.
So now I teach like technology design, and I get to teach whatever I want. But in like next year, they're letting me write the whole curriculum. Like, I get to, that is, whatever I do is the official thing. Like, it's not this year where I just was told you can do whatever you want. That like becomes the official thing to do. But like leaving the classroom the first time was really hard. I really missed the kids. I hated being in the hallway and not knowing their names. Because I was a teacher on my campus, and then I was an instructional coach on my campus, and now I'm back to a teacher on my campus. So it was a little weird. But one of the hardest, like, staying on my campus really helped keep me grounded. But like Jim said, I think the longer you're out of the classroom, the more distant you get. And I think I would have lost a lot of credibility as an instructional coach. Well, I know they have, not teaching this year, because what the F do you know?
Yeah, I think it's
and that's, so this year, I mean, I feel like I would have lost a lot of credibility, but teaching is a lot of my identity. And it's one of the things that the phrases I like to use is, it's not what we do, it's who we are. And that's just, I feel like even if I left to, let's pretend we had the funding and I got to leave and run TechSF, but even then, I feel like stepping out of the classroom, I lose a lot of credibility right then, with saying that you can do this with students. And this works in the classroom, because I don't have the experience to back it up.
Yeah, which is why I was saying, like, if I were to transition out, I would want something where I'm still working directly with kids on the campus in some way, like running a club or whatever. Because I agree, like, once you're out for like a year or two, everything changes so much. And I think, like, if I were to leave, it would have to be something that gives you creative freedom, like teaching. Like, you get so much freedom, even when you have prescribed, whatever lessons and units you have to follow. I still feel like you do still get so much creative freedom, and that's a lot of what teachers want. Is we're creative people. We want to create things. We want to make things. We want to make it fun. Yeah, totally.
Well, I'm taking this on. I gotta recommend this course to everybody here. On Coursera, there is an entrepreneurship course. It's over 4 different courses through the Wharton School of Business. My girlfriend hooked me up to it, and it has been fantastic. And, I usually start off a lot of my talks about you become responsible forever for what you have tamed.
Yep.
Well, that's also in, when we're talking about startups and business, there's this thing called Thiel's Law. And the Thiel's Law says basically that a startup messed up at its foundation cannot be fixed. Much like an organism, the
Amen.
DNA of a startup gets encoded at the outset, which genes or attributes will really matter going forward. Right. It's pretty much any organization. But, if, let's say, Playverses came to me and said, here's $200,000, now come work for us. I again, it has to tickle my brain, but also, I have to explore the culture of the business. That's why, Carrie, I love what you all are doing at Liminal. Would I come work for Liminal? Absolutely. In a heartbeat, because I look at who you have there and what you're trying to do. Is it a big money grab? Not at all. But the work that you all are doing, I'm not saying this, I'm not doing this as a sales pitch for me to come work for Liminal, by the way.
No, but it's our why drives our what. So we know what our why is as a company, and that is like why we're here, why we're doing what we do. We know what that is, and that's the motor behind the company. So everything that comes out of us is inspired by and driven by our why. And I think companies that lead with that have the ability to pull in really passionate people, because they're people that care about things that are really specific. I think it's really interesting, though, because as teachers, I think we tend to be people that are driven by our whys, but we work for organizations that are focused on the whats. We're focused on an output, and the why almost doesn't even factor into it. It's just, well, we need these kids to be here, here, and here, but the why isn't there. It's not about a passion for learning. It's not about discovery. It's not about teaching independence or autonomy. Like, that really isn't a focus of too many scholastic programs. So it's interesting because, like, you'll see people that'll be like, well, I want to find a job, but it's like, well, a lot of the sites that we work at, like what we do as educators is meaningful, but the sites that we work at aren't necessarily focused on that. And the standards that we're judged on certainly don't relate to that. So it's a weird incongruency. And yeah, it's weird because I still lump myself in sometimes with we, and then sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, I'm an ex-educator. I'm in that borderline where I've been removed far enough where, yeah, I question whether can I refer to myself as an educator anymore?
Mm-hmm. Educator, yes.
Yeah.
Once you're an educator, that is, I mean, if you feel comfortable calling yourself an educator, you're an educator. Mm-hmm. Like that is it.
Yeah, it's a weird transition because it's an identity thing. Like it is an identity I think thing. Like when we're teachers, and then all of a sudden you're not. Like I still have a shed full of my classroom, and I know that I probably can get rid of it, but I still have it because it's an identity thing.
I take a broader sort of just perspective with like just the idea of like human development, right? Because we're all lifelong learners and we're always learning. I feel like you said, Danielle, educators, we're all educators in a way. Some of us are not as good as others, but in the same way, I feel like for teachers that you said that identity change, I think if we do make that shift, then we start to see our broader role within it. And those are the good teachers, is the ones that realize they're educators more so than just a teacher in the classroom, for sure.
I posted it in the chat, but one of the things that like kept me going with instructional coaching was the number of students I was able to impact increased by an order of magnitude.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like I see it now because I was teaching teachers technology and literally COVID, like we were ready. And so I know that is my work. And it would have to, like my price, there's a price jump for me because I figured out my price tag. I took like my daily rate as it is currently and then multiplied it by the number of days normal people get to work.
That's a good idea.
Thing, because it's not my teacher salary. Because if I'm working summers, you're paying me more. Just for the days, right?
Yeah.
But God, and if summer school was my daily rate, I would do it. But heck no, not for $2,000. Um, but like, I have my number of students that I need to be able to positively impact has to increase by an order several, like at least 2 orders of magnitude.
Yeah, and I think when you're looking at jobs outside, like for me, like, do I love gaming? Yeah, absolutely. I love gaming. Gaming is a huge entity in my house for pretty much everybody who lives in it. But more importantly, like the job is still focused on youth. It's still focused on opening up doors for people that don't have doors currently open for them. It's still about providing people with opportunities to learn. So for me, like, yeah, I'm not in a classroom, but the work I'm doing is still driven by the same passion that I had when I was a classroom teacher. Like, it's just shifted into a different direction and essentially a different product. You know, I'm still doing it. I'm just doing it this way. And I think
why I love working with other educators with tech stuff. Like, student best interest is the number one goal.
Yeah.
And that is like a non-negotiable. Like, if you're an educator, that's it. If it's what's best for students, it's what you're going to do.
Yeah.
And so when you all have that same mission and like vision and understanding, and you all are basically like on the same path, it makes it easier. But moving from an educator to a non-education company, even so many jobs are education adjacent, and a lot of the opening people are starting to realize that, oh, kids play our games and spend money, and they are realizing teachers hold a lot of sway that direction. It had to be an amazing position to pull me out of even education adjacent.
I feel like the people who make Among Us should be coming to Angelique with like just rolling up a truckload of money and saying, let's take you away from this. Or I think where we would struggle here, this group, is, Mike Dolly tells a great story about this one group that approached the Wisconsin State Association about giving away something, and I don't even remember what it was. Mike will probably put it in the chat, but I think the words they gave us was something to the effect of, it is so hard to give away something for free to schools. And we've talked about, because it's data and liability and stuff, but even the language, like if we came out of this world, our education world, where we know the language, we know how the things work and everything, we went and told them, no, you can't do it that way. They would look at us like we had a third, eye growing out of the middle of our head, or, another head growing off our shoulder. We would just be looked at weirdly. But it's like, there's so many people coming into this space right now who have no education background, who think that this is just business as usual because they learned it at whatever college they went to, and they're going to come out and change the world and blah, blah, blah. We speak a very unique language, and it's very few of us who can speak both sides of the language. It's very few of us who can, as Danielle, as you said earlier, teaching adults suck. The first time I ever led a PD session was my first year teaching, 1999. I was teaching teachers how to use Dreamweaver, and I got up and I started teaching. You know what the first question I got was? Where's the handout? And I said, you're going to take notes. No. We get handouts. You're not going to take notes. It was a handout driven culture. So yeah, it comes.
We
back
still get that today.
Yeah. So wow, for such a short topic, we went on for 45 minutes about this.
we did.
We always do this, don't we?
We do.
I would love to hear
that administrator. That was a word that kept being used over and over and over again by somebody, and I couldn't understand why they were talking about principals. That's not what that word means to everybody.
Yeah.
Well, lots of stuff in the chat tonight. Supposedly there's some other chat going on. I don't even know what it is.
Games for Ed rolls in at halfway through ours.
I have to say this, though. Sam Anton is, I think, one of the most favorite people that we all have in our world. And Sam, we miss you, and I have to say thank you because Sam subscribed to this channel for 6 months. She's just throwing cash around like she just got money to spare. But Sam, thank you so much for doing that. Much appreciated. And yes, if you do have that that Amazon Prime account, and you have a way to just hit that subscribe button, feel free to do that, and I will share the wealth with these people. We'll divide up all the tens of dollars.
You'll send us like a pack of gum every so often, like every year. Every year we'll get our royalty gum.
Yes, everybody gets the royalty gum. Yes, we will. We'll find some way when we're all at another conference to make sure that we're all taken care of. So anyway, it just says I don't know how to end it, to be honest. Oh, thank you, Miss Giannis.
I don't know how to end it.
Angelique, thank you for the subscription using that Prime account.
Wait,
and Mike Dolly, thank you. What's that, Danielle?
Oh, every time I join the chat, it comes like post about your subscribe anniversary.
It does.
And I'm like,
it does.
oh, I like try to get rid of it. I didn't know I was supposed to like.
You can share it so everybody knows how long you've been.
I thought that was
a subscriber.
Yeah.
It's your clout. It's your clout
I know,
post.
but I also didn't realize
you
that it would like
gotta
make James happy. Like otherwise I would have done it. Like I thought it was like a bragging thing, but I didn't realize it wasn't for me. It was for him. And so now I'm trying to get it back because I want to post it for you.
I don't know if you can once you like.
It'll
come
come
back next week, so, because it won't go away.
Well, once I will, it only takes $5 donation to make James happy. Yes, thanks, Mike. Thank you.
Teachers, a $5 donation is everything.
That's a coffee right there, straight up.
Well, I'm splitting the 90-something cents that we will each get off of that. So, the other big thing, I don't know if this is an important topic, but I had a very, I shall say, interesting week with one of my scholar gamers. I've known this student for several years, and I shared this story with a few people, but yesterday was an incredibly hard day because this student reached out to me with ideations of self-harm, we shall say, and but reached out. And
oh no.
Everything's great. Everything's fine now. We're all good. Okay. But I just want to make sure that everybody realizes just how important, again, think if we didn't have these kids who, again, don't have that football coach, don't have that drama program, don't have that music program, whatever. And I got to tell you that it's these things like this. It's these connections that we make with kids that even when you go into business, let's say, again, you get that whole pitch and stuff. It's those moments to me that really make me go, dang, can I give this up? You know, as you said, Danielle, I think you said it so plainly, you know, this is how we identify ourselves.
Yeah.
We are educators.
I think it's important to remember, though, that even if you leave, you don't give that up. Like, I haven't been in a classroom in several years. I still get text messages from my old students. They still show up periodically in my stream. I still get messages through Instagram. Like the ones that need you, if you laid down that foundation with them when you were with them of like, I am this person, and if you need me, I'm here. Even 4 years removed, if they need you, they will find you because they trust that you will be there.
Yeah, and I will say that even this is how smart this kid is. I mean, you could see the decline over the last few weeks, the struggle.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of the monotony of being at home and still trying to learn virtually. Well, now I had opened up our space and said, come on in, come be here. In 2 days, this kid has finished out 2 classes. Just boom, boom, just got them done. It was like just that recognition of you are cared for, you are liked. Yeah. Here's a place that we can give you a little more structure. That's why our virtual learning, people go like, why do you have a space for your virtual learning program? Because kids need to not have the third space.
Yep.
They can't have their first and second space be the same place. It has to be, they need that space to get out of the house because, and he said it very plainly. He says, I can't learn at home. Yeah. I struggle with doing that. He says, my bedroom is where I have fun, and now it's where I have school. And
see, that's that disconnect that adults don't understand. They think that, and I'll just classify just the teenagers. They think that, well, you're already in the online space. You got your phones, you tweet, you TikTok, you do all this stuff. So online, it should be a problem for you. But as my son will tell you, literally, like, that's why he pushed to go back to school, because the online community, whether we do something inappropriate or not, that belongs to me. And schools are telling me I must get on, and you're infiltrating my space. That's something that I hold to myself, and you're forcing me to do something that I quite frankly don't want to be a part of under this type of leadership. I'm okay with getting on your LMS and doing an assignment here or there, but now you're telling me, whether this is a COVID situation or not, that I must be virtual and I must be here at this time. I must do this. I must do that.
Yeah.
And you think it's okay because I'm 17 and I'm online all the time and I play video games, so it's not a big deal. And I'm just waiting for you to catch up to where I'm at. And he would tell me, absolutely not. And that's why both of my kids told me, remember what I told you, Jarrell, that both of my kids said, this is doomed to fail. They told me this is all doomed to fail. This does not work. And I wish you the best of luck.
For some kids.
For some kids,
No,
and I think
they told me
all of them.
they
8 hours a day on Zoom does not work.
Yeah.
For
Oh,
So
I'm not
that's-
talking 8
yeah.
hours of Zoom.
yeah,
no,
that's
no,
what we're
okay.
talking about.
Like,
Oh,
that's, that's what my son was experiencing, and
yeah.
the frustration of being like, well, I'm in my own house, but I can't get up and get something to drink. I can't get up and get something
Yeah.
to eat, and I can't get up to go to the bathroom. Like, and you're not going to have that freedom until 3:45 in the afternoon. It's weird. It's weird. Like, you're used to that at school. But even in school, you could like raise your hand and be like, "Hey, can I?" And you like, I feel like in some
Yeah.
cases, there's even less room for autonomy in the online and hybrid models. And yeah, you're seeing the burnout of it.
And that's why I don't
It's happening in
Mike
your house. Like,
Mike Don and I were just talking while y'all were talking about that. We were talking about gap years and whatnot, and that's when my kids were finally saying, "You know what? I'm burnt out. I'm tired." And I thought it was, "Are you burnt out because of what's going on this year?" And they're basically saying, "No, really, as a whole, K-12, it's a lot. K-12, my K-12 experience as a student was way too damn much." And it changed from you. My kids told me, like, this is a lot. And the way I learned K-12, and I can only speak for me, the way I learned the K-12 is totally different from the way my kids are experiencing everything. Everything is, every day for them is different. Every year is different. Every week is different. To where my own
every
daughter
class
said,
period. That's so annoying. This teacher's got rules that this teacher doesn't have.
yes, to where my daughter said, "You know what? I have to take a year off to just work and come home and game, and that's all I just need to do right now.
Yeah.
I just need to make money and work and play a game, and that's it. And then I'm ready to go back to school because my brain is overloaded." And I was like, "Oh my God, I had no idea."
yeah.
Well, I can't tell you how many kids that have graduated from my school and that I've talked to once they're in college and they're like, Miss Gianna's college is so much easier than high school. And I think that's so backwards. That's so backwards. Like, they're like, I have so much
There's freedom. Yeah.
Like, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's just easier to deal with. And I'm like, man, like, that is telling in and of itself. Like, I understand that we want to expose kids to multiple things. But if you're getting to college and it's harder than, or it's easier than high school, there's an issue.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
And I said this in chat a little bit earlier that we're going back next week and until the end of the year, right? It's hybrid. But a lot of the seniors are like, I'm not coming back. I got a full-time job.
Yeah.
Like, what's the point of me coming back? Why? So I can sit there and do my work? Like, I'm already done. So it's interesting. Like, I don't know.
What I'm curious, what were some of the reasons, and I know we're about to go over, what were some of the reasons why they said it was easy? It was easier.
I think because you're taking less classes and they're slower paced, right?
No.
Like it's once or twice a week.
It's only over
You're
12.
going-
Usually it's over 12 weeks, though. They're not even going 16.
But you're not going every day.
No,
Like
and you're not
most
going
most
every
college
day.
classes, you're going.
So like you're
going
going
twice a
Tuesday,
week.
Thursday.
Yeah.
Instead of Monday through Friday. We operate on the semester schedule, so we operate on the same as a college does. So we have classes August to December and then January to June.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I mean, I think it's just easier because you're only going to class twice a week, and then you have the rest of those days off. And you know, when I was in college, I was working full time. And so I did all my classes Tuesday, Thursday, or Monday, Wednesday, or whatever it worked out to be. And then I was done. Like I got out of school on Thursday. I didn't have to go back till Tuesday. It was great. So I don't know. We're just at school a lot.
Yeah.
You know, like, do we need to be there that much? I'm not sure. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Probably
really
not.
on that.
Like a lot of my kids are now either in their, I want to say, third, second, or first year in university. And what I've heard from them is they like the autonomy. Like they like the fact that they can pick their classes, they can set up their schedule. It's not like, well, this is the only math class and you have to take it. Like they can pick the one that's at 3:00 in the afternoon, or they can pick the one that's, you know, downtown at 7:00 at night. So they're setting up their days. They're taking the classes that are relevant to them, and they've got the power to create their schedule. And a lot of the classes, they don't have to attend. You just have to get your work in. So if you wake up and you're like, well, I really got to do this instead, you make sure your work is done, but you're not getting dinged for attendance. So, you know, you don't have to make every single class. So there's a freedom to it and a sense of control that I think we've stripped from K-12.
True.
That a lot of kids like. I mean, a lot of adults like it.
Carrie, when are we going to make the skill tree school?
Right?
But
Oh,
what
yeah.
happens to the
Oh,
economy
yeah.
if we don't have all of our kids in school all the time? Because apparently that's what the problem.
I mean, that's why you can't start school behind, like, after 7:30, because people got to get to work. Like, you got to dump your kids somewhere, right? Like, that's the argument that I heard here. What am I gonna do about my kids? Like,
I'm gonna
well,
bite my
then maybe we need to
Biting.
change something. Like,
We only have a few more minutes, and I'm biting my tongue.
we're,
Well, right.
you don't
write
want
this,
you don't want to
write
go
this
to
down. We'll
45
pick this
minutes
up
over.
next week. But, well, I mean, we could go for another hour just on that comment. But I love what Jarrell said. The skill tree school, right? Yeah, or some people call it standards-based grading. Also, you know. But again, I look at standards. My idea of standards-based grading should be this. I call it what you will. 12 buckets. These are the 12 buckets of things we want you to know from the time you're in kindergarten till the time you're in whatever. You start at 5. If you figure all these buckets out by the time you're 6, guess what? You graduate.
Yep.
You get a high school diploma.
Yep.
Any teacher can evaluate any standard at any time. It's a math standard, but hey, if I'm that social studies teacher and you're doing multiplication tables in my social studies class or making a graph or whatever, guess what? Mastery or proficiency. You have to be proficient in everything, and once you're proficient in everything, you go. What does that do for teaching if the kid's not proficient? Guess what? They go work with a teacher who can help them get proficient on that standard at some point. And they show up on campus and they go to that teacher when they need them.
I mean, I had multiple kids blow through 2 entire school years in their 7th grade year, and they were able to skip 8th grade, and that was like, you know what? If that's what you want to do, we're gonna roll you. We're gonna roll you right through your stuff, and they both did it.
I have to say this. This is an important point. Mike Dolly asked, why do we need mandatory seat time? Guess what, Mike?
Amen.
Wait.
Oh my gosh.
Let me tell you something. You know what's great about my virtual program? No seat time requirements.
That's nice.
My virtual program had the state law. So I have a kid who can finish a virtual course in 6 weeks, and they can do it to competency and proficiency. Guess what? They're done. If they get it done in 6 weeks, they're done. I do not track seat time. I don't even have to take attendance in the virtual program.
Yeah.
My school district says, oh no, you have to take attendance, because again, they're trying to do things in an old fashioned way, because guess what? They still get reimbursement through dollars and stuff.
Yeah.
The only time
I say it's that money.
Yeah.
But if a kid doesn't show up or isn't working, that's when I mark them absent. So I go back and do everything retro. but
Yeah.
that we don't have any seat time requirements. So Mike, welcome. You can come join the virtual teaching world. There you go.
That's actually what the state of Texas is said for the year, was work done towards the curriculum. Progress in the curriculum counted as being present.
That would be
And
so
so
nice.
technically, my students never have to show up to my Zoom. Most of them just haven't figured that out yet.
So you were one of the schools that
and then
was
they
like,
don't do anything.
Zoom
Like they literally
cameras
are
gotta be
AFK
on.
the whole time. And I'm like, you don't have to be here. Like, you're not turning in your work. So, but yeah, I have several kids that I don't see them synchronously at all. They've just figured out what they're supposed to do and they do it.
I mean, I had kids that never sat a lecture. They didn't need it. Like, yeah,
I mean,
we're
I
gonna
went
sit
through
here and
most of grad
it's
school
available.
without sitting through a lecture.
Oh yeah, you do. But that's the beauty of letting kids learn the way they want to learn and being there to support the learning and not being there to dictate the learning.
So we started this conversation with what's going to take you to get you out of that classroom to go work for private, and where are we right back to? We're back to what is the things that are keeping us in and what we would like to see different. And guess what?
Mandatory
schools-
They're
seats.
so freaking cute.
You
The
better-
kids are so cute.
Guess what?
They're
School
adorable.
districts. I don't know. I don't know. You know, George Karos and all those edu celebrities are going off and talking and telling us how to do things. You know what you should be telling people how to do? How to not do what we've been doing for the last 20 years. All those things you've been telling us that we should be doing. Guess what? You need to change your script. Right. Make new keynotes. Make new. Get off that 10-year-old keynote you've been collecting $10,000 on every time you
And
get
just
it.
invite different people to give the keynotes.
Or yes, and let's get some diversity in this.
Or like our college fair, #no keynotes.
Ooh.
yeah.
How very ed camp of you.
Oh, I love ed camp.
Until you get a bunch of crazy people in a room. Then it's just
Isn't
like
that
bad.
every teacher like every time teachers get together, that's literally what
It's just like
it's just a bunch
it's
of
like-
psycho people.
yeah, just compounded bad ideas on top of compounded bad ideas. Sometimes you got to be careful in an ed camp. It can get bad very quickly. All right, final thoughts for that's my final thought. Be careful with ed camps. They can get bad very quickly. Choose your ed camps wisely. Angelique, do you have any final thoughts for tonight?
I have a lot of thoughts. I don't know. I think like now that we're all going back to the classroom, I know not people have already been back, but I think like I'm approaching going back to the classroom as like, how can I do this differently and not still do what I was doing pre-pandemic? And I hope that more teachers think that way. I know that that's not going to be true, but I hope that more teachers like understand that, maybe we don't need to be in school 5 days a week. And let's talk about that. I don't know. Just a thought.
I got to unmute myself. Carrie?
Yeah, it helps. Not that I can hear you anyways, but you did get that sorted. Yeah, so if you haven't checked out Liminal Esports K-12 ESN, K-12 Esports News, please do. Brand new platform. It's got the ability to grow and change to meet the needs of the education community. So if you have things that you'd like to see submit it. We would love to start being able to publish papers and articles that are written from the EDU community. So if you've got, your experience putting on a tournament, or your experience starting your program, or your experience with a game that you either love or maybe something didn't work, get that stuff into us. We want to be able to make the site express the voices of the community and be able to serve as a repository for the information that we're all collecting. And then if you have events that you're putting on, definitely send that stuff my way too. I know that I've been pushing out a lot of stuff from TechSef and a lot of other organizations. So if you've got something really cool that your program's working on, get that to me so I can get that out there to other educators that could benefit from it.
I just want to put this up really quickly. That's my 12-year-old. Sean, thank you for checking in. I agree with Sean 100%. We should not be in school 5 days a week. Sean and I we're good buddies like that.
My son agrees.
But let me just drop this. What if school was let's not get too crazy. What if school was 4 days a week and the 5th day was a whole day
Optional?
where kids could come in and get help on something if they wanted it? We were just there. Just saying.
That's
Bradford-
what tomorrow is for me.
A genius
Literally,
hour
it's
day.
an asynchronous
Yeah.
Genius
day.
hour day would be great.
A genius hour day.
Bradford, do you have a final thought? You usually do.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
He does.
Yeah,
What?
what does this to me? Oh my gosh.
Just, Bradford's all flustered now. Sorry.
No, I'm so flustered. I'm turning red. No, what this year has taught us, this pandemic, is that there are opportunities not just for students but for us educators as well. We talked about earlier whether we want to be in or out of the classroom. Just educators, know your worth and know your value, and know that this pandemic has opened tons of opportunities for everybody.
Yeah.
And the space has opened up for everybody. And don't let your teachers or administrators or whoever stop you from thinking that all you need to be is this type of educator. Now that we can be in this virtual space, look at the opportunities that are out there. And if you want to be that classroom teacher because that's where you feel that you make the most impact, that's fine. But if you feel like you can make an impact somewhere else and still be that great educator, that's fine too. Just remember that there's opportunities out there for you.
Danielle?
Speaking of that, I just dropped it in the chat. There are opportunities out there for you. And Jeff Patterson, who's the CEO of Gaggle, at least once or twice a week puts out a list of education adjacent jobs for educators looking to leave the classroom. He's on list number 77. And I know several people who have gotten positions and like been able, and not been able, like it's a lifeline we're seeking, but who have found other opportunities away from public education through his posts.
I will make sure to copy and paste this into all of the chats so that everybody can get at that. I think that's a great thing though, because again, a lot of jobs they come at us and we're just, we have somebody to filter it. Jarrell,
crowdsourced, so it's like he doesn't do it for money. Like you can't like tip him or anything. He literally just collates all these. And yeah, sorry, I'll not interrupt now.
Oh no, you're good. No, I was interrupting you. Sorry.
But I feel like that's a very valid thing. Like he's not putting. There's no skin in the game for him except that he posts some jobs at Gaggle occasionally.
Gotcha. All right, Jarrell, your final thought?
Yeah, just kind of going back to what I said earlier. Grow like a bonsai. Grow like a bonsai.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Miyagi. All right, that will do it. That will do it for tonight. For all of our co-hosts, Angelique, Carrie, Jarrell, Danielle, Bradford, thank you for being here tonight. Everybody, we will be back again next week. So be here or not. If you're not, then you're not here. Good night.